Good morning or good evening, I guess. Depends on where in time you listen to this, watch this, whatever. Warrior Nation. Here is our semester fall 2017 review, part 2. Dos. Cool. Dos. Anyways, let's move on. So let's see here. What are we looking at? Let's remember, domain is going to be your left and right, and range is going to be your y values, which are the low and the high. So start off with that. Maybe this is something you add onto your note sheet. Kind of go from there. So here's number 15. I'm going to talk about the domain and range. I'm going to put them in set notation and interval notation. Now again, domain is left and right, so I can draw a line like say straight down to figure out how far to the left and to the right. And according to this, it went to -5. Now set notation, again, remember, starts off like X, like that, and interval notation just takes the numbers. Okay, so it's a closed dot, so I'm going to put lines underneath. But to the left, it's -5, and to the right is at +4. Interval notation would say you just put -5, 4, but you put brackets. Okay, because it's closed dots. Range is Y values. Now keep in mind, because a lot of y'all on the test kind of messed up here, like y'all would put X and X. So you got to be careful, because if it's multiple choice, I could have X answers and Y answers, and then you're choosing the wrong one because, well, you just weren't paying attention. I mean, just saying. All right, and again, low, high. Doesn't have to be on the endpoints. It's about low and high there. Okay, and the low there is at -5 also, and the high appears to be at 9, give or take a little bit, whatever. And again, there's no open dots here, so this is -5, 9 with brackets. Oh, the next one throws in an arrow. Oh no, what do I do? All right, let's find out, shall we? Okay, again, here on the left side, I'm at -5. Oh, and I guess I should say this. On set notation, you can always start off with like X between two things, and like the Y between two things. Even if it goes to like infinity, and there's different ways of writing it, this is the way I prefer y'all to say it. Anyways, so to the furthest to the left is -5, and the furthest to the right, that's that right there. That's going on forever, which means it goes to infinity. So you could give me, which would be no line underneath, -5 to infinity. In interval notation, that would be -5, infinity, parentheses, but brackets. Is there a different way to write this? Yeah, at least for the set notation, yes. But this is the way I would give you the answer on multiple choice, so, go with that. As far as low and high, low is right here. Wow, I was really stuck with -5. -5, closed dot, but again, it's going there to that arrow. That's the highest point, and that's going up. Okay, now notice that means it's going up, positive infinity, so the range is also -5 to positive infinity. Happy joy, not too bad. I know, right? Okay, the next few questions are going to deal with transformations. So I want to make sure I cover transformations hopefully fairly well here for y'all. So like the next 3 or 4 questions. And so we want to make sure we can deal with this. This might be something you might want to make sure you have in your note card. Like it tells you whether you have a reflection. The first number, if it's in front of the parentheses, would tell you about stretch. And it doesn't matter what the families are. But then again, you also need to remember the families. All right, and you might also need to make sure you have this type of information, knowing what are the parent functions, like the quadratic, the absolute value, square root, cubic functions, and rational. And we'll probably start seeing more of these later. I mean, we're barely now getting into quadratic, but hopefully we'll get to see some of the others. So these would help you be able to, say, solve a problem like number, say, 17 and 18. Okay, so what does it mean by name? Okay, so here's the parent function, and you want to be able to know this information. So we should know that x squared is our quadratics. So we're going to say those are quadratics. I'm going to change the color so hopefully you can see that better. Quadratics, or quadratic. Okay, type of transformation. So this is the parent function. These are the transformations. Does it have a reflection? No, it does not, because remember, a reflection would be if there was a negative in the front. So there's no reflection. Is there a stretch or compression? Yes, there is. There is a stretch because that number is bigger than 1. Okay, then is there a horizontal shift left or right? Okay, a +2, according to that table here, a +2 would tell me to go to the left 2. Okay, up or down. Okay, so this one tells me to go to the left. This one tells me to go down. So now I'm going to go down 5. And then the final function. So this is all the changes. What do I need to do to, say, put it in this format? Well, all you got to do is get rid of the f and just say x plus 2 squared minus 5. Yeah, it can be that simple. Really, sir? Yes, it can be. All right, so let's look at the next one. All right, so the next one, what kind of function is this? Well, if you have it, and see, and having this on a note card would make this easier. But 1 over x, those are called rational functions. So this would be a rational function. Is there a reflection because of this negative? Yes, there is a reflection. Or you can put just a check mark, whatever, I don't care. Compression or stretch. There is no number in front other than the negative, so nada. Not applicable. Horizontal shift left or right. Again, those are the ones that are in parentheses. So there's nothing here in the parentheses. So again, nada. And then up or down, obviously this +5, that's outside the parentheses. When you have it up or down, that's outside the parentheses. This one would be up 5. Okay, so what does that mean? That means basically like this. When you take this, and this is supposedly like the more difficult one, but essentially you're getting rid of this f of x and putting this in its place. Okay, so negative 1 over x plus 5. And that's it. That's all. Final function. You're done. See, it's not that hard. Y'all can do this. Yes, y'all can. Okay, so this happens every so often where I sometimes finish something and then forget to, like, say, go over, like hit replay. Like, so I don't remember when I finished this one, but I'm going to go with, hopefully it was before I started number 19. Or after I started number 19. Either way, the idea here, if you have questions on these, be sure to ask. Keep in mind, like, know your values here and make sure you can see how the numbers come about. Like, okay, I'm saying here this was an absolute value. That's why I have these little symbols. I've got a reflection. That's why I have the negative in the very front. Stretch 2 means I put the number 2 in front of the absolute value. Left 4 means a +4 inside the parentheses or absolute value. And down 1, -1. And it's fairly simple. I mean, it's all, again, following this little bit right here where I can change these up and say, like, squared. I could say, oh, that's a quadratic. I could say square root. I could say absolute values. And that's really all it is. You just got to be able to plug the numbers where they belong. As far as this one right here, it was an absolute value. You should have that graph, and hopefully you have them on your note sheet, that went to the left 3. And then the domain, negative infinity to positive infinity. The range, low was at 0 with a high at going up forever because of the arrows, positive infinity. So hopefully that recovers everything that I may have accidentally not covered. Not sure. Kind of one of those things. Go with that. All right? Yep, we're good? Okie dokie. Let's move on. Okay, so for the next part, we have this. I can do something where we can take these pictures, and I repeated 12 and 13 because, well, I was just being brilliant. But you've got these numbers here. Okay, so solving by graphing, you can easily type these into the calculator. So you go to the calculator, you would have, like you would open up a graphing page. You would type in the functions, both functions. You got to type them both in. So you type in both functions. So make sure, like, after you type in one, you press down. You don't press enter. And then you can do something like menu. So barring an update, it should be menu 6, which is analyze graph. And then 4, which should be Menu 6, 4. Find the intersection. Okay, so menu 6, 4, and hopefully that's the right, because we'll double check later. But that should be to analyze the graph. And then intersection. And that will allow you to say graph the problem, and then be able to say get from there, trace the intersection. If you do that, you would see a graph that, for lack of a better way of doing it, 1, 2, 3, 4, would look like it goes something like this. Another one that goes through 1, 2, 3 over 2, like this, and you would see that the intersection point is at, say, 2, 0. Okay, and so that would be the answer. Now, the way I can ask those questions is I could either have you say, okay, which of those, based on those, would give you the right graph or the right solution. And you can do them like this, or you can go back to matrices. But remember, if they're matrices, the x's have to be on the other side. So if you want to, and you got to remember how to do those. And I can remind you about those in just a few minutes. Okay, so on this one, number 13, I'm going to say press Control Dock. So let's remember that, Control. So you might want to make sure you're adding these calculator pages. Control Dock to add a new page. And then I would choose another graph page. So another graph page, and then I could type it in. Now notice this one has these little inequality symbols. So that means you've got to, this one definitely you would have to show me, like choose the correct one. So remember, if you delete the equal sign, it will give you a choice to do the inequality. Then you can choose the right inequality, type it in, 2 divided by 5, that's what a fraction is, plus 1. And then again, press down so you can get the next one. Don't press enter. And then again, I would do the next one, delete, choose greater than, and then type in 3x minus 1. And you end up with, really? I got the same colors? That's not supposed to happen. You end up with something that looks sort of like, say, start here. And again, you're going to be doing something where you can choose the numbers. So start there, and it would go over to F5. You get something like this, solid line. You would be able to tell that's a solid line. And then the other one goes like, say, starts at 3, but it's a -1. I'm going to go ahead and choose a different color here. So let's go to like a light green. Starts -1, goes up 3 over 1, and does something like that. And the calculator would have, like, you could tell there's 2 different types of shading, but you should be able to tell that the best shading is going to be like in this section where it cross shades, and that's what you would see on the test. Like, you would have to choose an answer choice that gives you something like that. Okay, so there's those types of problems, fairly easy, and you can kind of do them from there. Now, the next ones, these problems, they tell you to solve them by substitution or elimination, and in all honesty, whatever is easy for you. So these are the ones where we could do the matrix method, and I've got this in the wrong color because that's not going to be appearable. I can do the matrix method, and as long as I set them up as matrices and make sure I have the RREF in front, I should be able to get that. So again, how do I get that? You would have to say menu. Now again, this should be in standard form, which means x, y equals, like, say, some type of number. Okay? And the other one would also have to be x plus y equals some type of number. Honestly, guys, I try to make that a little bit easier for you. I don't like to put them in things because, well, you've shown me before. That's the way I look at it. Okay, so so on here, like menu 7, matrix vector, and then again choose number 5. So this should be menu 7, 5, which would be about matrices, and then choose the reduced row echelon form. Reduced row echelon form. That's why it's called RREF. Okay, then again, you press the button next to the 9, and it would be in the second row, middle column, and you got to choose the right dimension. Second row in the middle. And I can show y'all this in class if y'all just want to ask, but we can go from that. So we can type these in, and basically when we do that, we're going to get an answer. Now, keep in mind, and I'll remind you of this. I've got to stop doing that. You are looking for an answer that goes like 1, 0, 0, 1, and then some numbers, like here. Or if it was a three-dimensional, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, and you're looking for numbers there. Now, if you end up with something that has, and it doesn't matter what the dimensions are, zeros on the bottom, zeros all the way, that would be infinite solutions. If you end up with, say, 0, 0, and then a 1, that is no solution. So keep that in mind. Okay, so if you do that with this one, you will get a setup that should be like, say, RREF 3719. I'm kind of stuck here because of the thingamabobby. 115. Press enter, and you end up with 1001. And you have a 4 and a 1, which means the answer is 4, 1. Okay. On the next one, you can do the same thing. Your setup would start off 1, 3, 12, 5, 1, 4. And when you press enter, you get 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 4. Okay, so that means here that that's still an answer of 0, 4. I don't remember if I have any of these with no solution or infinite solutions, but you might want to be prepared for that on the semester exam because I probably will stick one in there. So make sure y'all have that in your note sheet. The rest of these, because we're getting kind of long, I'll just go ahead and give you the answers, but you should be able to set them up, and I'll talk about number 18 in a second. But in 16 and 17, same setup. Okay, so for this number 18, the only difference here is just keep in mind that this one would be, where these might be 2 by 3s, this one would be a 3 by 4. Okay, and then you set it up. So when you see the answer, what you get is like 1, 0, 0, negative 3, 0, 1, 0, negative 2, and then 0, 0, 1, negative 4. And there you go, all done, and that's it. This one's gotten kind of long, so I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and we will continue this with the next video. Thank you so much for your attention. Y'all have been a great audience, hopefully, and I will see y'all later. Y'all take care. Thank you very much.